We're going to begin the service for Norma M. Pearlman of blessed memory with the Psalm 23, which is on the right side of your leaflet. Cantor Frank will begin musically.
Adonai roi lo aqsa binadeshe yod b'tzeni ame b'duchot yitnahaleni nafshi shover yamcheni v'maglet tzedek leman shemo Kom ki elech bekitzal pavet lo irara iyata imadi shiftecha umishantecha לפניי שולחן נגד סורריי דשנת בשמן ראשי כוסי רוויה Achto v'chesed yedefuni kol yemei chayai v'shaveti b'vet Adonai le'orach yamim.
Please join with me in the English. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. As we come together today, I'm filled with a lot of gratitude for Norma's life. She was an incredible human being. To her family, thank you for giving her to us for as long as you did. Thank you for the great service that you did in keeping her alive these many years with so many health challenges. We know that it was a team effort. To George and Deborah and Marcia in particular and the extended family, it's just incredible to have watched you from afar care with such diligence, such love. And I understand why. Norma was incredible. She was there for us. She had a warm smile. She had just a wonderful way that you always felt comfortable in her presence. She always made you feel like you were the most special person in the whole world. And though we knew that this day would come, it still is extremely sad to have to say goodbye. We always thought maybe we'll get one more day. We'll hear a little bit later from George, but George, even to the end, just how you cared for Norma. I just was astounded and listened to your story. I've never heard quite such diligence and such care and such love. When we come together, as you did 69 years ago of being married and longer being together, you didn't know what your life would bring. You didn't know all the things that would come, even though you told me you fell in love from that first moment that you met. But you also didn't know all the trials you'd have to face just to maintain her health and to keep her going. But it's all worth it, every minute, and we wish that we still had more. We're going to, for Norma, I think it's appropriate, we'll say Eshet Chayil, the traditional prayer about the woman warrior, the Eshet Chayil. And she really was. She was a warrior, someone we can all look up to gain strength, even now, and just in her memory. Eshet Chayil miyimsa v'rachok mipnim mivra. In English, a woman of valor who can find. She is more precious than fine pearls. Her husband trusts in her, and so he lacks nothing. She does him good, never harm, all the days of her life. She perceives that her labor is rewarding. Her candle burns on into the night. She reaches out to those in need and extends her hand to the poor. She is clothed in strength and dignity, and she faces the future cheerfully. She speaks with wisdom. The law of kindness is on her lips. Her children rise up and bless her. Her husband sings her praises. Many daughters have done valiantly, but you excel them all. It's as if those words from Proverbs were written directly for Norma. We have a number of people that will be reflecting from the family. As you come up to the microphone here, it's up to you if you want to take off the mask for that moment so we can hear you. It's really your choice. We'll first hear from George, who I know has just a great deal of gratitude to everyone who's come today.
I would like to thank all of her friends, relatives, the people she loved that are here today to kind of witness a life of love. And so I thought, and I'm sure Norma would have wanted me to say a few words. She wouldn't have said anything about herself, but I would like to share some of the thoughts about my lovely wife. As the rabbi mentioned, we've been married roughly about 69 years. And together with all of the situations that we encountered, and she, of course, had some major medical issues, which we attempted to work with her and get these things resolved. Her original downfall was roughly at about 62 years of age. And from there on in, we've tried many, many situations to continue the wonderful life I've had with her. She had numerous medical interventions to keep her going. She herself was quite strong, with a great deal of wisdom and passion and quietness, and yet she fought her illnesses quite hard. And so all of that had given us the wonderful 69 years of our life. We also were blessed not only with the length of her days, but with the continued success and love of our family. And I'm sure Norma would want me to introduce our lovely family and their care and their wonderful work that they've done in managing and helping me continue our lives. I'd like to first introduce, as you probably may know, my daughter, Marcia, who's standing here, and her husband, Paul. Paul, would you just stand? And this is Paul Kramer, and we were delighted with our son-in-law and Marcia's continued future things that she's doing, and her help, her wonderful help in really helping her mother continue her life. My youngest daughter is Deborah Varon with her husband, who is standing beside me, Dr. Simcha Varon, and this was a wonderful match and wonderful people. So we were blessed not only having our wonderful children, but we've had 4 wonderful grandchildren too, and I would like them to stand if they may. Stand, Julian. This is my eldest grandson, Julian, and then Ethan. These are Marcia's children, my children as well. And I'd like Deborah's children to stand. Asher Nassim, my grandson, and this is our new arrival, 20 some odd years ago, Yehudit Reina Varon. And we were so blessed with having this wonderful family, and Norma just couldn't believe and shared in everything that we were doing together. I won't go into telling you how I met Norma. I think Deborah will probably indicate that. But she was a very strong person and with a great deal of wisdom. She indicated that she did not want to have the services at the home she loved for 40 some odd years. And she said she would rather have it in the synagogue. Sherry, I'm sorry. Share Shalom. My memory is a little on the bad side, but I can remember. So what I'd like to do here is maybe thank everybody who was involved in her life and who helped extend her life. And we have no qualms about having her lived a long, wonderful, precious life. However, when we run into a situation like that, we become a little bit greedy in wanting her to be with us, if it were only just several months or weeks or days or even hours. Norma passed away quite peacefully, what she wanted to do, and she looked wonderful even in bed that night on the 29th of July at about 2:30 in the morning. And hospice, who she was really a patient with hospice home care. At first, hospice accepted her, but we wanted her home with family care, and so she agreed to that. And hospice really worked with her in preparing her for end-of-life palliative care. However, Norma wasn't satisfied with that, and she turned around and became one of hospice's longest living patients. She was with hospice for over 3.5 years, and when she went into hospice, it would be about 6 months maximum that she would live. And hospice was really wonderful. In fact, everybody knows that hospice's mission was basically providing palliative care for end-of-life situations. But they finally kind of redid their mission. They not only provide palliative care for patients who are facing end of life, but they started to provide additional life care for patients who may not have really passed away when they thought they would. And so they were absolutely wonderful in giving her everything to extend her life as long as possible. The doctors tweaked her medication so it shouldn't really be a problem affecting her vital organs. He also extended some of her care in the prescription of not only quality of life, but they wanted her to get as much quality as possible and provided all of the mechanical equipment to be able to get her out of bed and get her to enjoy not only her home, but visitations with friends and be with family. She was really confined to bed roughly about 2.5 years ago, and we felt that we must get her out of just the bed, and so hospice provided the devices to do that. And so we were able to get her out with the aids of our wonderful aides that not only worked with Norma, but became family to us. And I would like to sort of introduce those aides. We have, I can't even pronounce her last name, but her first name was Seji. Seji, where are you? Stand up, Seji. Seji has taken care of Mother. She's taken care of Norma as if it were her own mother. And Seji loved Norma, and Norma loved Seji. In addition to Seji, we've had an aide by the name of Farini. Where's Farini? Stand up, Farini. Farini was our first aide who really took care of Norma properly. All of the aides were certified, registered, and gave her the very best. And another aide we had was Vicky. Vicky, where are you? Captain Vicky? There's Vicky. Our aides were working with Norma. Oh, there's Maggie here too. Maggie, where are you? Oh, there's Maggie. These were all of our aides who helped extend Norma's life, and not only life, but quality of life. And we love them all. And they were, I'm sorry, Moshe. I can't hear you. Oh, Melka was another aide, but she is now in the process of having her second child. So she's not with us today, but she was another aide. We had all these wonderful aides that really took care of Norma, and not only did what they had to do with her, but above and beyond the things that aides normally don't do. So we were very fortunate in having these aides. And Norma was very fortunate and worked with them. Well, she loved the house she was in. We lived there 40 years, except that Norma's memory was not that good. And I would like to indicate some of the things that we had to go through with Norma in getting her to extend her life as long as she did. We had medical intervention from wonderful doctors here, not only in Buffalo at the Buffalo General Hospital in ECMC, but she was also a patient in Baltimore's Johns Hopkins University, in Tacoma Park at Washington, what was the name? Adventist Hospital. And many of the doctors worked with her and were successful in giving her more life. And we were so appreciative of that. What other hospitals? That's it? Okay. Norma was basically a wonderful person, kind, sweet, beautiful, with wisdom and a great deal of kindness. All her friends loved her and cared about her and supported her. I wanted to mention some of the people at hospice that worked with her, and that was Dr. Lapomi, who was the one who was tweaking her medicines to make sure that her vitals were not overloaded. And she had a nurse, Jane, who came every Wednesday or Thursday and cared for Norma. We also had an aide that hospice provided by the name of Haley, who came 5 days a week every morning at 9:30 and left at 10 or 10:30 after she took care of Norma. So these were wonderful people that we've worked with. Is there anybody I forgot? Okay. So, in any event, Norma was really quite wonderful, and what I kind of determined was that even though we were faced with a very sad situation, there was a little bit of humor that we were able to grasp and help us get through some parts of the day. And one day she was sort of lying, sleeping. She appeared to be sleeping. And for some reason, she saw me without my walker. And she shouted, "George, where is your walker?" Another time, I woke her up in the morning, and her big, bright, beautiful eyes glazed at me, looked at me, and I said, "Norma, how was it last night?" She says, "I slept well." I said, "Were you in any pain?" She said, "No." I said, "Do you know who I am?" She says, "Yes, you're George number 1, and there's a George number 2, and then there's a Mr. Wonderful." I asked her, "Who was I?" She says, "Well, I know you're George number 1. I said, "Well, who is George number 2? She says, "I don't know, but he's around here sometimes." And I'm still wondering who George number 2 was. So this was some of the humor that we shared with Norma. And I remember another incident was that I was taking a shower. She was lying in bed with her eyes closed. I thought she was sleeping. I passed through her bed, and I heard her say, "George, you're naked, get dressed." Those were humor. That was humor that permitted us to at least take a break from all of the things we were doing for her. So again, there are some special friends I would like to introduce. Harvey and Nancy Schiller, who were really with me most of the time. We'd go out occasionally. If I had an aide taking care of Norma, Harvey would take me out for lunch or dinner, spend time with me, and really teach me a lot of things, since he was almost the historian of Buffalo. He's lived here all his life. And then there was Larry Itzkowitz and Phyllis Itzkowitz, who really came aboard and again spent a great deal of time with me. So those were my dear friends. I've had many, many other friends who are no longer with us. But again, I see here that there are many other good friends that Norma had and wonderful people who cared for her and worked with her. Is there somebody I forgot?
The Bridge Club.
Oh, she belonged to the Bridge Club. And when she couldn't play bridge anymore, they were there to help her play bridge. They wanted her there even though she couldn't really play bridge anymore. So these were some of the friends that she not only had, but I was also part of that friendship. Is there anything else I forgot? Oh, I want to thank the rabbi and the cantor for all of their services and their care in really communicating with me about Norma's health and her life. And in addition to the local rabbi here at Sher Shalom, we had conversations with the Chabad rabbi, the Discovery Center rabbi, and many other rabbis that were familiar with Norma and I. They provided our Friday evening Shabbat meals, and that was nourishment for Norma because the chicken soup was almost, not quite, but almost as good as her mother's chicken soup. And that gave her the nourishment when it was difficult for her to really eat and gain fluids. But that was up to us, and our aides were wonderful in working with her and feeding her sometimes and having her drink fluids and get as much nourishment into her body as possible. So, again, I remember and thought about it for a while that the reason she really wanted to have the ceremony here, the service here before burial, because she wanted to be here in some kind of a connection that had to do with me. So I thank everybody for coming, and hopefully we still will continue to be friends and loving friends, and our aides will still continue being part of our family. I thank you very much for being here.
George Cantor and I want to thank you for giving us our beautiful sanctuary here, too.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Unfortunately, Norma was here for many occasions that were also like funerals, and she was always supportive of her friends and family. For our next speaker, we have Deborah, and then we'll have Simcha and Yehudit afterwards.
I hope you'll indulge me. It's my mom, so I have a lot to say. Norma Nechama Bat Yada is my mother. Nechama in Hebrew means comfort or consolation. How did my grandparents know that a name that means comfort should be given to their very special daughter? Was it divine providence or the sweet and gentle soul that my mom possessed after she was born almost 92 years ago? Can you hear me? Everybody can? I cannot remember a time in my entire life when my mom got overly upset or angry, or at least she never showed it. Her calm demeanor was truly comforting to everyone who came in contact with her. In spite of her progressing heart disease, many medical surgeries and procedures, as well as a terrible fall a few years ago, she remained calm and steady in turbulent and distressing times when our family was in crisis mode. She stayed the course, never complained, and quietly accepted whatever life had in store for her. Some time ago, I asked her, while trying to hold back my own tears, if she was scared about dying. Her gentle and matter-of-fact reply was, "Why should I be scared? This is life. I could not ask for anything more. I've had a good life." She emphatically told my father that she wanted her funeral service at Shir Shalom, and we understand why. As my father had mentioned, he designed this synagogue almost 50 plus years ago when it was Temple Beth Am. My parents are longtime members. We participated in many life cycle events and rituals, and my mom was a beloved teacher in its preschool, I think for over 15 years. In her wisdom, she knew that when she moved on to her next journey, remembering and honoring her in such a meaningful setting would bring comfort to us all. But do not be fooled by her sweet and quiet nature. My grandfather, her father, dubbed her middle name Sipala, which means onion. The story goes that when my mom was 3 years old, she poked him in the eye, which made him tear, hence the name Sipala. But an onion has many layers, and if you peel away each layer, you will discover something entirely new, which I did throughout my mom's disease. Her fierce will to live. She defied the medical odds against her for 30 plus years, showing the medical community that she was not going down without a fight. Although she was told by some physicians years ago, and on more than one occasion, that her heart was very sick and there was nothing more that could be done to extend her life, her beautiful heart was as strong as ever, alive and filled with love. Recently, she asked the hospice doctor in a quiet manner, "They keep telling me my heart is so bad, so why am I here?" The hospice doctor smiled to her, but could not give an answer. In a way, she was like a cat with 9 lives, soft and cute and cuddly on the outside, but underneath strong and determined. And yes, she showed them that she defied the odds. I think her strong will, a skilled doctor or two, my father's constant devotion and care, and maybe some divine intervention are the reasons my mom has survived many of her friends. Her will to live was fierce. She is truly an inspiration to us all, including her entire healthcare community, whom we wish to thank for your never-ending kindness, care, compassion, support, love, and dedication. The entire hospice team, including Dr. Lapomi, Jane, Haley, and all of the other aides and nurses who came into our lives. Her devoted caregivers, Segi, Milka, Maggie, Vicky, Ginny, and Farini, whom have become important parts of our family and provided so much love and nurturing and treating Mom with so much dignity and care. And Margie, thank you for all of your support for Dad, and including administrative details, transportation, shopping, and companionship. And Rabbi Alex in the cantor, Mom enjoyed sitting down with you during your visits and always speaking with you. Her love for her family and friends was true and all-encompassing. She grew up in a tight-knit family with loving parents, Albert and Yetta Mandelkern, a brother, Harvey, and many wonderful aunts, uncles, and cousins. Judaism was an important part of her identity and would be instilled into her future generations. There is no way to talk about Mom without talking about my dad. She met and married the love of her life, George, almost 70 years ago through a mutual friend. My father told me the minute he laid eyes on her, he fell in love. She often joked that he married her because she paid for his education in architecture, and got him out of Brooklyn into Buffalo. She supported my dad in all of his endeavors, and he supported hers. And together they raised my sister and I, as well as positively influenced 4 grandchildren who she loved fiercely, couldn't get enough of, and were the joys of her life. She was the love of my dad's life, and he often commented on how they had a good marriage built on love, mutual respect, similar values, and the ability to overcome challenges together. Over the last few years of Mom's life, I would observe my parents hold hands and lovingly look into each other's eyes. Dad would always say she had the most beautiful blue eyes ever. I would like to focus on my father for a moment. My dad is the most selfless, devoted, loving, dedicated, giving husband, father, grandfather, and person I have ever met and witnessed. His unbelievable care of Mom in home hospice is really hard to put into words. Dad, I know that because of you, her life was extended many, many years. Their relationship is a testament of their enduring love for one another. Without her, the void in our family seems unbearable and our grief palpable. But Dad, Marcia, Paul, Simcha, and I, and our children will take good care of you. We will try to fill the void as much as we can, and we will never leave you alone. Mom was an avid reader and bridge player. I was in awe that she could devour a book with hundreds and hundreds of pages in 2 or 3 days, and I often wondered if she really read every word. She did. Book topics ranged from mysteries to romance to historical and especially the Holocaust. Weekly bridge was more than just a game for her. When she suggested that I take bridge lessons, also because it was good for your mind, I would poo-poo her, saying, no one my age plays bridge. And she just didn't understand that reasoning. But more than anything, it was the women in the bridge group that were just as important. They were her good friends and support. She loved them dearly and never wanted to let them down. Even when she could no longer play anymore or attend the games, she insisted my father drop off treats to the bridge location because she was the host and it was her responsibility to bring candy. In truth, the bridge group never let her down. During the past few years when her health was declining and it was becoming increasingly difficult for her to play, they always included her as part of the group and welcomed her with open arms. For this, I thank you for your sensitivity, love, care, and support. To my parents, many, many other friends, your love, care, and involvement in helping to support both our mother and father, whether it was making and delivering food, visits, rides to and from the Jewish Center, doctor's appointments, phone calls, and friendship has meant the world to our parents and to our entire family. I want to also thank everyone, friends and family who traveled from out of town to honor my mom, my cousin Rachel from Geneva, New York, and my very, very good friends from Baltimore, Joan and Steve. Her loyalty and morality never wavered. She never let distance or tensions interfere with relationships and connections and would remind me that no matter what, it was the right thing to forgive and initiate conversations in hopes of sustaining important bonds. She never ever said a mean or bad word about anyone and hated to participate in lashon hara, or idle gossip. She was overjoyed that she was able to attend her 70th anniversary of Bennett High School in hopes of reconnecting with school friends, even though there were only 9 people left in attendance. She even made it to the news, and boy, did she glow. Even in elementary school, the teachers would often compare my Uncle Harvey, her brother, to her, and they would say to him, "Why can't you be more like your sister Norma?" She was so good. She was smart, but extremely modest. She took great pride in the fact that she failed geometry and had to take it 3 times until she passed the course. She taught early childhood education, and later, while working and raising a family, she returned to school to receive a master's degree in education from the University of Buffalo. Her sensitivity and wisdom were beyond the pale as she quietly listened and observed others and the world around her. One of the hardest parts of losing her will be our daily phone calls, when I would just yak and yak or complain, and she would just listen calmly and then quietly offer some wisdom. And culturally, she knew a lot and enjoyed the arts, music theater, opera, current events, and unfortunately, politics. Earlier in their marriage, during the Korean War, she and my dad were stationed in England and traveled throughout Europe, enjoying opportunities to learn about other cultures. They often reminisced about this time and both said it was one of the best times in their life. She was funny and she didn't even know it. Here are a few examples. She really enjoyed going to the casino and playing the slots. She felt a little guilty for gambling and thought if she didn't tell us and really just pretended she was out for a drive Sunday morning at 7 o'clock, we would believe her. We finally caught on, and she confessed. Or the time when my kids and I were traveling by plane after visiting my parents in Florida, and we heard of a small plane crash. She tried to soothe my anxious young children by saying, "Don't worry, only big jets crash." We were flying on a big jet home. My kids have gotten great mileage out of that statement. Many, many years ago, my mom had a doctor named Dr. Fu. My kids really got a kick out of asking her how to spell that name, and she would calmly say, F-U. We would all laugh, and she would have no idea why. I rarely ever heard my mom swear. And during the last few years, she showed us how to turn mint M&Ms into the most delicious delicacy. One of her earlier caregivers texted me that she had prepared Mom a dinner which consisted of tofu, rice, and vegetables. But after a few bites, Mom pushed the plate away saying, "I liked it, but couldn't finish it, so I'll trade you for some M&Ms. And boy, was she practical, which I mostly realized toward the end of her life, and a quality that I didn't appreciate nor wanted to accept. I wonder if the songwriter, singer Pete Seeger, stole my mom's wisdom when he wrote the song Turn, Turn, Turn. I'm not going to sing it. You can look it up if you're interested. But basically, it's a time for every season, a time to live, a time to die, a time to grieve. On more than one occasion, she insisted that we have the death talk, which Marcia and I dreaded and hated, but she made us listen. She wanted us to accept the fact that one day she would die and we needed to go on with our lives. She anticipated our pain of losing her and wanted us to accept the fact that she happily lived her life, was grateful for a long life, her husband, her family, and friends. So what else could she ask for? Plus, she also made sure we knew where the will was. She was very practical. In addition to my mother's beautiful traits, the fact that we have the same birthday is unusual, special, and just plain wonderful, if not weird. For me, having the same birthday turned into a spiritual and metaphysical experience. We often joked that I was her birthday present, and I apologized for making it a painful one. In reality, she was my most favorite birthday present, and together we celebrated mostly every year. I trust that in her next journey, we will still always share our birthdays together, and it will be the best tribute to her ever. How could my mom not endear herself to so many? How can I describe her life and the wonderful person she is in just a few words? One of her aide's words captured my mom's essence in a text about how she loved my mom's smile when she walked into her room, and thanked us for giving her the chance to spend time with our lovely family. We heard this from the majority of her healthcare team, how truly a privilege it was to care for Mom, and they thanked us for allowing them to care for her. Mom, you are indeed lovely, happy, gentle, content, and grateful for everything you had in this life. You are my one and only mom, my role model, my inspiration, my nechama, my comfort, my heart, and my best friend. I love you always.
honor to follow such beautiful tributes by George and my wife Deborah. I'll be very brief. A little louder, okay. Norma, was truly blessed to be your son-in-law. I'm sure Paul shares that feeling as well. Your name, meaning comfort and solace, you exemplified these qualities throughout the 30 years that I knew you. You provided comfort and solace to our family, not only with your words, but with your presence, demeanor, and example. Many wonderful qualities and stories have already been relayed. I would like to say the following. With all the health challenges that you overcame over the years during the 9 lives you were given as a honorary cat, I saw examples of your quiet courage and fortitude and teamwork with George. I was honored to witness the dedication, love, and support given to you by George, my father-in-law, and I guess known more recently to you as George number 1, George number 2, and Mr. Wonderful. In the Gemara, it states that the husband is commanded to treat his wife with the greatest respect, honoring her more than himself. George was the embodiment of this beautiful quality over the years, and is something that I admire greatly and hope to emulate towards my wife. Marcia and Deborah exemplified the mitzvah of honoring their parents in their dedication to both you and George, and in the care they provided to you. And your wonderful son-in-law, Paul, also cared for you like a mother and was very dedicated. And I have admired all of them in their service to you. George, Marcia, and Deborah expended tremendous effort in your care. However, the respect, kindness, and love they gave you appeared effortless. What beautiful examples to us all, especially to our children. Recalling the efforts of George, Norma, and Marcia, especially over the last 3+ years, have been both an inspiration and comfort with your passing. Knowing that you passed away after so many years of love surrounding you, not only from George, Deborah, and Marcia, but from my wonderful brother-in-law, Paul, your wonderful grandchildren, so many of yours and George's friends, and from all of the aides and hospice staff, all of that provides nechama to us all. Norma, you accepted these acts of loving kindness by showing endless gratitude to those involved, providing comfort and solace to all in return. I thank you for this legacy that you have provided to us and to your loving grandchildren. We love you, and we will always surely miss you.
I'm just going to say a few quick words. Grandma and I had a really special relationship because I was her only granddaughter, and when I was younger, my other grandma passed away when I was really young, so Grandma and I had a special bond, and I'd like to do a quick impression of her. Hello, Yehuda is exactly what she sounded like, and I would look forward to that every phone call we had. She never spoke a bad word about anybody. The only thing she's ever said to me that threw me off guard was I dyed my hair bright red, fire truck red, and I paid way too much money. And I walk in, and she goes, "What happened to you?" And I was like, "Grandma, wow, thank you for noticing." And I love you so much, and you're on to your next journey, and you're gonna make everybody up there laugh, and you and Shrek, you can feed him treats, and Milo, and they'll be happy to see you, and Harvey, and I love you so much, and yeah, so thank you for being a constant, strong will in my life. And Grandpa, I love you so much, and you're strong.
Let's just take a moment to really soak that all in. What a wonderful family, and so much gratitude that I feel as well. Also for what an example for how to really thank people. It's wonderful, and how grateful we are. So just take a minute just to process and to think about her. I'm invite you to rise for the El Malay Rachamim. It's in the middle of your pamphlet. Her Hebrew name, as we heard, Nechama bat Abram.
Shalom, Hamishkava, Benomar, Amen.
And together in the English, Lord, full of mercy, who dwells on high, find fitting rest upon the wings of the Shekhinah in the heights of the holy and pure, who shine like the glow of the firmament, for the soul of Norma M. Pearlstein, who has gone to her eternal world. For we pray in memory of her soul, Pearlman, may her resting place be in the Garden of Eden. Therefore may the Master of Mercy shelter in the shelter of God's wings forever. May God bind her soul in the bond of life. The Lord is her inheritance. May she rest peacefully upon her resting place. And let us say, Amen.